Hello and welcome to Money Matters. I am Folashade Ogurinde. After the declaration of year 2020 as a year of gas, President Muhammadu Buhari launched the Decade of Gas at the Nigeria International Petroleum Virtual 2021 Pre-Summit Conference. President Buhari reiterated, among other things, the determination of his administration to make gas development a national priority in order to stimulate economic growth, improve Nigeria's energy mix, drive investment, and create jobs for Nigerian citizens. This next report has details. President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria's gas resources is key to achieving the national goal of economic diversification and industrialization. President Buhari made this known at the launching of the Decade of Gas Virtual 2021 Pre-Summit Conference for the forthcoming Nigeria International Petroleum Summit (NIPS), calling for collaboration between government and stakeholders. President Buhari said, given the country's potential of about 600 trillion cubic feet of gas, the commodity has the enormous potential to diversify Nigeria's economy.
Gas has enormous potential to diversify and uplift Nigeria's economy, given the country's potential of about 600 trillion cubic feet of gas and the rising global demand for cleaner energy sources has offered Nigeria an opportunity to exploit gas resources for the good of the country. We intend to seize this opportunity. Nigeria LNG contributes about 1% to GDP and has contributed 114 billion United States dollars in revenues over the years. 9 billion United States dollars in taxes, 18 billion United States dollars in dividends to the federal government, 15 billion United States dollars in feed gas purchases, and all these were achieved with 100% Nigerian management and 95% Nigerian workforce.
President Buhari, while enumerating the objectives and achievements of Nigeria's gas sector, explained that Nigeria has more gas resources than oil, which has been the focus of the nation since its discovery.
Our major objective for gas sector is to transform Nigeria into an industrialized nation with gas playing a major role, and we demonstrated this through enhanced, accelerated gas revolution. Remarkable progress has been made to achieve this objective. This includes developing gas infrastructure, promoting domestic utilization of LPG and CNG, commencing the process of commercializing gas flares, development of industrial and transport gas markets, and increasing gas to power.
On the backdrop of the potentials of gas to the economy, President Buhari acknowledged that more work has to be done to optimize the potentials of Nigeria's gas. To deliberate more on this, I'm joined now by gas and energy experts, Mr. Charles Majomi, who joins me via Skype from Abuja. I'm glad to have you here on Money Matters. Now, the launch of the Decade of Gas, President Muhammadu Buhari said, given the country's possession of about 600 trillion cubic feet of gas, the commodity has the potential to diversify Nigeria's economy. Now, tell us, how significant is this?
Oh, it's very, very significant. I mean, Nigeria sits on more volumes of gas than it does crude oil. And you have to look at the imperative, the importance of developing gas in the context of what's going on in the global economy. Currently, there is a push to develop renewables over crude oil, which means that eventually crude oil is going to become a thing of the past. So it's time for us to realize that and to make a very credible leap towards our next best resource, which is gas. Gas is important to us for many reasons. It's much more important than crude oil. The reason being, it has a value-added component. So developing gas is a sure way to develop jobs for the Nigerian youth. And by the way, let's not forget that Nigeria is facing a massive youth unemployment crisis that's going to grow in the next 20 years. I've heard figures as high as 60 million unemployed youths will be idle on our streets if we don't do something. Developing our gas assets is a way to create jobs and to diversify our economy away from the usual crude oil mainstay that if we're not careful, will peter out and we will be caught if we don't do this now. So yes, it's extremely important that we do this now. And gas is massively important, and we should consider ourselves very lucky to have this resource in this country.
Now, President Buhari in his speech said Nigeria has focused more on oil rather than gas, which the country has more in abundance. Now, why do you think this sector hasn't been utilized for years now?
I think you kind of said it in your opening in just now. We, for whatever reason, have been fixated. It's been a very lazy approach to economic development, in my view. We've been fixated on the easy returns from crude oil for a very, very long time. I think the other issue has been that, gas is very different from oil in the sense that in order to develop gas, you have to have a market. It has to be tied to a market. It's not like crude oil that you can just take out of the ground, put in a barrel, and then eventually sell it on the market. Gas must be tied to a market, and the way to tie gas to markets is through infrastructure. Now, unfortunately, while we do have some gas, it's not sufficient to underpin the kind of revolution that we need to have. So I would say the lack of infrastructure, lack of proper government will, and then the third point is lack of clarity around the incentives to investors to be able to develop those assets. I think once you have those three things, primarily government will, a sure plan for development of delivery infrastructure, and clarity around the regulations and the financial incentives to investors to come into this market, you will see that gas will take off very well.
Now, for years, global demand for clean energy has been on the rise. Now, in what ways do you think Nigeria can take advantage of this demand?
Well, they're not mutually exclusive. I mean, let me explain how gas is actually tied into the global push for cleaner energy and reduction in carbon emissions. You would have heard of gas flaring. Okay, which is a big problem. It's an environmental problem. It degrades human life, and the gas flares. I mean, and environmental, the environmental welfare, okay, of the particular area where these gas flares occur. They add considerably to global warming, and Nigeria has been a major contributor to global warming through gas flaring, because the oil producers have, again, there wasn't the sufficient infrastructure to be able to allow them to monetize that gas. So they would rather flare this gas. I think monetization of our flared gas for commercial benefit is completely aligned with the global push to reduce carbon emissions. And so I would say that it's completely aligned. It's also a transition energy. A lot of people have spoken about renewables, and gas is not actually a renewable energy. It's true. Its production would reduce gas flares, but it should also be seen in our context as a stepping stone to renewable energies like solar, etc. The other thing that we have to understand too is that our installed capacity for power generation is based on thermal units that are gas-fired. So we are tied to gas as our major energy source. And it's my hope that if we develop all of those three items that I said, that I had mentioned, we would put ourselves on a footing to become a major gas power in the region, and at the same time create jobs for our unemployed youth, thereby instilling a greater sense of common security for us all.
You said it all, Mr. Charles. Nigeria needs to utilize the Nigerian gas sector. I mean, clean energy is the way forward now. But thank you very much, gas expert, Mr. Charles Majomi, for your contributions on the program. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a pause here, but when we return, we'll take a look at the latest from the FIRS, which is the Automated Tax Administration Solution, and its impact on businesses in Nigeria. To stay with us. Welcome back. Latest reports from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, indicates that the agency is set to go hard on tax evaders in the country by examining financial information stored in electronic devices of taxable persons in the country. The agency said beginning from May 1, 2021, it would begin to enforce the law, which empowers it to check the computers and electronic storages belonging to taxable individuals through its automated tax administration solution. The executive chairman of the FIRS, Mohammed Nami, said the new directive was in line with Section 25, Subsection 4 of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act 2007, as amended by Section 51 of Finance Act 2019. And joining me to shed more light to this development is Mr. Temitope Samagbeyi, a tax partner at Ernst & Young Global Limited. Thank you very much for joining us on Money Matters.
Thank you very much, Folashade. And it's a pleasure to be on this program this afternoon.
Now, can you explain to us what the FIRS Automated Tax Administration Solution really is?
So, thank you once again. The FIRS Automated Tax Solution essentially looks at adopting technology with a view to ensuring that adequate taxes has been paid by taxpayers. Now, everybody knows that we are going into the technology world. In fact, so many advanced countries are already into it. So most of what we see done on a manual basis will now be going electronic. And I think it actually started way back when they started talking about BVN, which is the bank verification number, and so many other schemes and arrangements put up. What the Federal Inland Revenue is interested in is to ensure whether you're doing it manually or you are doing using technology, that the correct amount tax has been raked in for the federal government of Nigeria.
Now, what are the implications of this directive to businesses and individuals, considering the fact that, the FIRS would have access to their computers in terms of ledgers and income stream?
Okay, so the implication at the outset may not be very comforting. Usually, when you have these programs introduced, there are usually the teething periods, teething times. But what we've seen in other climes is that once that stage is overcome, then it becomes seamless. Now, it becomes seamless for those that are doing the right thing, particularly with respect to declaration of the correct income and expenses as and at when due. But when you have a company that has been recalcitrant with respect to tax payment, so much more will be revealed in terms of the non-compliance. And if the program is properly annexed, then you expect to get more in terms of revenue for the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Now, if the bird has learned to kind of fly without perching, then you, the person pursuing the bird, must be able to shoot without missing. That is what comes easily to bear when we consider the new FIRS automated system. The taxman is now well and better equipped and trained to be able to decipher whether certain amounts, at least from the systems, And I'm speaking with particular emphasis on those maybe potential taxpayers maintaining just one book of account. By the time you throw in technology, so much more will be revealed. But let's just note that at the outset, it will be time consuming. It will take so much of our energy and kind of resources. But when this is set loose finally, I think it will be a plus for the Federal Inland Revenue Service as well as the taxpayers that are already compliant. Meanwhile, it will further expose those that may not have been compliant.
Now, the FIRS boss quoted the law backing the agency to access the computers of businesses and individuals. Now, does this not contravene the fundamental human rights law on privacy?
Okay, you see, this particular issue was addressed about 2 years ago. Now, there is oath of secrecy also, but what is very important here is that professionalism must come in. Professionalism, because yes, when you assess someone's system, the jury is out there that some may actually challenge it, okay? But talking about fundamental human rights, what the Federal Inland Revenue Service or government is actually looking at getting are just the information that will enable them determine whether you have paid and reported the correct amount of tax. No more, no less. While those other problems may still be there, I think the court is out there to help resolve all such matters and iron them out.
Now, there's this issue of personal income tax in Nigeria, with regards to the FIRS now gaining access to the computers of individuals. How does this work? We can kind of understand how seamless it might be for businesses, but for individuals, how do you think the FIRS can work around this?
Okay, FIRS is a federal government agency. FIRS does not work for the 36 states of the federation. Okay, and when you talk about personal income tax, you are focused on the state's internal revenue service, right? FIRS at a point had control over the Abuja personal income tax, but the way it is now, it would be better for it to just be limited to companies and organizations that are duly registered with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, as against going after individuals and maybe partnership, because those are registered business names and individuals that have the responsibility of filing their taxes with the relevant state of their state of residence. So I think that is outside the scope of FIRS because they do not have that power within the law.
Now, this automated tax administration system is from the federal level, and we all know that states also have their revenue generating systems. How do you think the federal and states can work together in order for this solution to work?
Yes, I'm saying, but what we've seen over the years is the increasing collaboration between the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the other state boards of internal revenue. And all these were done through the Joint Tax Board. Of course, they've done some audits together. But what we saw was that even after doing all those audits, the State Board of Internal Revenue will still want to conduct another audit. And that is what we say when we talked about even multiplicity, not only of tax, but also of reviews and audits by the relevant state or federal inland revenue service. So they can actually, if you carry along the state, if you carry them with you, you are able to get maximum advantage from this. Otherwise, the states will fight the system.
Let's talk about multiple taxation. I mean, this is an issue that's been on the front burner for a very long time. Do you think this system will solve this issue?
The issue of multiple taxation did not start today, and it actually emanated from the foundation. Of course, you know, we have what we call the exclusive legislative list, we have the concurrent, and we also have the residual legislative list. So each of those three arms, so I'm talking about the federal government, the state government, as well as the local government, they have their responsibilities within their respective jurisdiction. So I live in Lagos, for example, but the law, the law in Ogun State may say, look, everyone passing through Ogun State should do A, B, C, D. But what should actually be done should to be a more comprehensive review, such that maybe when you pay in Lagos with your receipt and evidence of payment, you can take that to Kogi and it will be recognized in Kogi. You can take it to Zamfara State and it will be adequately recognized in Zamfara. But because of revenue drive, even when you pay something for something in Lagos and you get back to Ogun State, the bordering states of Lagos State, you may still have to pay. So there has to be a comprehensive work and review of the Nigerian tax and regulatory architecture, such that the Nigerian business environment can be very, very attractive, not only to foreign direct investors, but also to local investors, which will kind of help. So I'm talking about harmonizing all this. You personal income tax. Nobody will tell you to come and pay personal income tax in another state because you've not earned the income. But wait till you are buying land in that state. They will tell you to provide a tax clearance certificate. And the tax clearance certificate, for example, if you provide one for Lagos, Ogun State may say, look, you need to pay tax in this state. Now, that is not supported by any law. But because citizens who just want to finalize their land documentation processes, they just have to drop something sometimes. So there is still a very big gap, because sometimes people will tell you, look, I pay tax everywhere. Not until that fundamental issue or challenge is resolved, the problem will still be there, because each of those states are actually working towards ensuring that they earn adequate revenue with which to develop their jurisdiction and also to bring the gains of democracy to the relevant people.
Now, let's talk about the issue of tax evasion, and also the issue of remittances of revenue. Now, do you see this, automated system solving these issues?
Who wants to evade will evade, even in the days of technology, right? But what has not been seen really is the tax authorities going all out to discourage people. There is still a need, for tax sensitization. There is still a need for awareness, because some people are actually not paying today, not because they don't want to pay, but because of them are not aware, and such is not an excuse in law. So also the government showing the people that, look, I collected tax from this area, see the developmental solutions that are brought to that area. You see, when people see what they pay for, Nigerians will be very, very willing and happy to pay the taxes. So technology or no technology, while technology may curb anything around evasion in terms of capturing the length and breadth of all the transactions, you may still have some non-compliance issues. But the fact is, with technology, most of these non-compliance activities may be reduced to the barest minimum. I'm not saying that they will be completely eradicated, but that comes with time.
Certainly, Mr. Samagbe, we hope that this new system will block some of the loopholes. But just as you've mentioned, most importantly, the Nigerian citizen will get, the fruits of his or her labor by paying taxes to the Nigerian government. But thank you very much for your time on Money Matters, Mr. Temitope Samagbe, tax partner at Ernst & Young Global Limited. Thank you for your time on Money Matters.
Thank you very much, Folashade.
And it's a wrap on the program. Till next time, bye-bye. I am Folashade Ogurinde.